Hey everyone, it is 9:35. We made it to yet another Wednesday. I'm so glad you're here. Just want to say thank you for hanging out. And we are going to be continuing working on this oil portrait and really happy about it because it goes over the precepts of Photonic Realism and the study of light and not just painting light, not just painting the object, but painting the light. And that's really exciting. Patty, all the way from Illinois, how are you? And then we have Mr. Astral, all the way from the UK. Great to see you both. Thank you so much for hanging out today. So I'm going to concentrate on this fabric here. Kyle, all the way from PA, how are you today? Great to see you. How's everything? So glad you're here, sir. So I'm kind of running low on paper towels. That's something I'm going to get tomorrow, that's for sure. So great to see everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out on this Wednesday. What I want to concentrate on is this white curtain over here. And we're going to work on that, but not just the curtain itself, but how it acts, with the edges that are going along the background and having the light affected from the candles, even though it's across the room by a window, the candlelight is still affecting it. So definitely doing that. Mr. Roy, Color Graphics from New Jersey, great to see you. How are you today? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that color and we'll do that together. So the first thing I'm going to do is really look at this color here. You can see I already did one layer, and that's almost like an underpainting in a way. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this color here. And what's really interesting is that the color is a surprise. When I look at that color, I don't think that's the color, but it really is. So we're going to look at that, and let's see. Very interesting color here. I love color because what you think you're seeing really isn't. Oh, Patty says she looks amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that more than you know. Thank you, Patty. So now we are going to look at, what are the elements, and okay, great. And the percentages. Okay, so now I know what I have to do to mix that color. Let's make that. Colette, how are you? All the way from the Atlanta area. Great to see you. Thank you so much. My paintbrushes are falling all over the place. And we'll get this out of here. See, with oil paints, you don't save the paper towels. You get rid of them pretty quickly, okay? Because that will cause such a mess. And whatever you save is a total waste. So don't save paper towels. Get rid of them ASAP, okay? That's so important. So see right here, this got some red on it. So I am going to be very careful with this because this will get red on the planet. So I got to be careful that I don't touch anything. Okay. And I'm not even going to use this paintbrush because of that. It's just so terrible when that happens. Bounty, what's your paint? I love Viva. Viva's really fascinating. I love that so much. The Viva cloth. I ran out. That's my problem. Let's see. Okay, so now we're going to mix that color together. And let's see. Interesting. It's very interesting when you mix color and you realize that it's not what you think it is, but it's something totally different. It's really cool when that happens. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with a color here. Very interesting color. Yeah, it's almost like your eyes are deceiving you, right? That's how it feels sometimes. And sometimes a color that you mix might be a little transparent and you have to do something to kind of make it a little opaque. And then I like adding a color called Davy's Gray. It's really nice because it kind of kills the saturation, but so gradual. And it has a real granular feel to it. It's really great. Alright, so now we're going to get a paintbrush. I want to get a good sized paintbrush here, nothing wimpy. Let's go with this guy right here. Add some of my solvent-free gel. Now this may be too dark, we don't know. You really don't know until you actually put it on the surface. And let's take a look and see if we're happy with that. I think I am. Yes, maybe it's a little green, so I'm going to add a little bit of a neutral gray to this, just to kind of bring it in line. You know, it's one thing to analyze a color, but it's another thing to go your own way, you know? Okay, so I'm happy with this here. And so this is, maybe it's a little light, but I can go dark around it, you know? Yes, it is like real cloth. Yeah, Viva is amazing, Kyle. Definitely. But I do like the green tinge. I think it really kind of gives it a little bit of chromatic life, right? So as you can see, I'm working pretty thickly. And I could always kill the saturation later, that's fine. But I do like what I'm seeing here. And as you can also notice that, you know, it's a real meaty brush stroke. I'm really getting a lot of paint with each stroke. And again, I feel like it could be a little bit too green, so I'm going to add some gray in here, just to kill the green a little bit. I don't want to go overboard. I like the green, but not that much. Astral says he's been watching the intro screen since you started. Keep forgetting to refresh the stream. Oh, man. Okay, so you see I'm bringing this down. And it may be a little bit... Now, what I learned is that you can take these little foam things, I use them for pastel, and they make great erasers. See how I can erase that? Just get a paper towel and you can erase that oil. Now this only works when you've been working a while, you have, you know, a good surface already. And then we're going to come over here as well. And what I'll do is I'll lighten that up. I like working wet into wet because then I could adjust it the way I want, you know. Hey Mike, great to see you. How are you today? All the way from the Baltimore area. How is your retirement going, sir? I really love the way Wilma and Betty came out. Really great painting. I got a chance to see Mr. Michael's live stream over the weekend. My life's so busy, but I did find some time to go check him out, and I appreciate you finding the time to check out my live stream as well. And again, you'll see I'm going to be working wet into wet. the advantage of working in oils. Now you can do this in acrylic if you're using Golden's open acrylics. Oh, Michael says he's loving it, getting things done. That's fantastic. I may add some solvent-free gel here, just to kind of make things happen. And it just stays, this gray here stays thin as it moves down. But you can see I'm having a nice, very nice amount of paint on my brush. Being a little more forceful, a little more decisive. Maybe watching the John Singer Sargent show for the second time about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, kind of affected me. Okay. Okay, so we're going to work wet into wet, and I basically want to find the color of the shadow, and then I'm going to get the color of the background and then work all three together. I think that's an important consideration, rather than, you know, work piecemeal. You want to have all the pieces in play, you know, and like having wet clay. That rhymes. Okay. Alright, so now we want to work with a gray. And so it isn't your normal gray, that's for sure. Let's see how we can find that color. We're going to start down here because that's where the gray, and then there's like a penumbra over here, and we're going to work that together. Oh, you hear that, Michael? Astral says it was the sexiest Wilmer and Betty he's ever seen. That's cool. Okay, so this is a very interesting shadow. Again, I wouldn't think. Very interesting. And let's find this. Okay. Alright, so let's make this happen. We're going to mix this color up. Alright, now we come to the next color. So looking at that, pretty sure I can find this. Alright, and we'll do the next value right next to it. Alright, so I think we're in good shape. Now we're going to get this color here. So you can definitely, you know, play with it once you put it on the actual surface. And that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to play with it. I didn't check my IM just yet, but I will, my friend. Okay, so I see that it's very saturated. so time to desaturate this a little bit. Let's see, so I did saturate this quite a bit. Yes. See how I desaturated this? It's so important to get that correct, you know? Not just, you know, it's not just getting the elements, but the saturation, which is important. Gary, how's it going? Great to see you, my friend. How are you? All the way from the Pennsylvania area, Hershey. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this value down and then adjust it. But you see how I'm setting things up wet into wet. It's very important, you know. Watch out for hairs. If you see a hair, make sure you get it, otherwise it gets dry and becomes part of your painting. I don't think you want that. Oh, Gary says not here to steal any crowns. Let's see. Great. I'm going to bring in a little bit later. I'll bring in something that Mr. Michael did on his live stream. That will be really cool. I'll probably be at the 10:30 mark. That would be excellent. Thank you for that, Michael. Let's see. We'll just bring this down. And if I need to, you know, I could always glaze, you know, if the color is off the mark, you know. It doesn't have to be like 100% correct, you know, that's for sure. And then I'll add some saturation here. But working wet into wet is very interesting. You make sure that you have a paper towel where you could actually wipe the brush clean, otherwise you'll make mud. Wipe that brush clean. But you can see wet onto wet, it's almost like working with wet clay. See how everything is so hard-edged, but that's only for a little bit. Now the color that the brush that I use for this color here I have right here, and now we'll start kind of integrating the background and also this part right here, kind of bringing them together. And those of you airbrush artists, there's a lot to unpack here as well. Oh, Astral says he noticed Spaghetti Miniatures was using one of your inks, Tim. Fame at last. Oh, that's great. He's fantastic. I really like Mr. Giovanni. He's such a good guy. So that's an honor. And his videos are really great if you haven't checked them out, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of integrate this and this together. So this way I could blend them in. Hey, Patty! It says hello to Liz. Liz, how are you? Great to see you. How are you? Liz, are you in town right now? Or are you out of town? Everyone's saying hello to Liz. Liz is great. And just wipe that brush clean. Oh, Liz is out of town. Okay, cool. Georgia, very cool. You can hang out with Colette. Hot and humid here too. I went for my walk. Of course, my walk is not as strenuous or deep or long as it is in normal conditions, but it is very hot here in Jersey. Naperville, so cool. And now I'll take like a blender brush, also known as a fan brush, and we'll start doing some techniques. Right here, we'll kind of work this in. And it's a back and forth, you know. And it takes time. So on here, I'm going to be working this gray color into this here on the edge of this chair. And there's a lot of edges to really be concerned about. So I can kind of soften this here and then bring this down. And it's all a work in progress. Oh, Liz says she saw that on the map when the plane was touching down not too far. Oh, cool. Astral says, great effect with the fan brush. I don't use mine, though. I love the fan brush. I used them since I was a kid. My teacher, not Harvey, but Mr. Greenberg, wasn't a big fan of fan brushes. But I was always a big fan of fan brushes. That sounds funny. I'm a fan of fan brushes, almost like I'm repeating myself. I'm a huge fan of big fan brushes. See that wet into wet, you can really do some amazing things. Notice I don't work wet into wet in the beginning, right? Michael's a fan of zeros. And it's good that while I'm doing this, I don't have this wet yet because that could kind of make a mess, right? Michael says he tried using the fan brush for making the grass in his paintings. How did it go, sir? There is a brush by Princeton, and it's actually called a fur brush, and it has the red handle. I believe, let me see if I can remember what brand it is, but it is a fur brush, and it's like a fan brush, but it has different layers of hairs. Some are short, some are longer, and there's spaces in between. Something like that would probably be what you're looking for. I think it's the Princeton Heritage brushes. They're red, and they're kind of a short handle. They're really watercolor brushes. I don't pay attention to that. I don't care if it says watercolor, oil, acrylic. I'll use it. I'll just clean it well, that's all. Okay, so I'm liking that. And it gets a little darker down here. So let's see if we can add some darker colors down here. So what I'm going to do, rather than make a darker gray, I'm going to add one of my favorite colors here. And that color is Davies Gray by Utrecht. Let's see what this does. Yeah, that's not dark enough yet. So I'm going to add a little more of this Davies Gray here. And then I think it could probably have a little bit of orange in here, just to kind of give it a little bit of an edge. And also, photons are hitting it from the, over here even, some photons are actually reaching it from the candle. So there is going to be some orange here. Oh yes, definitely. So go to Blick. They should have it. I don't think that someplace like Michael's or Hobby Lobby would have it. Now what I'll do is, even though I haven't come in with the dark from the background yet, I'm going to start adding in some of the dark shadow. Of the curtain. Oh, listen to that. Liquid Frisket. That's pretty cool idea. So right here, I'm going to kind of introduce the edge of this curtain. And I do see there's a little bit of orange, more orange in there than I originally anticipated. And where's that orange coming from? It's coming from the candles on the other side of the room. So we're doing the outside. And I do like that color, which I can bring some of this into here. And also it's a good opportunity to work on the contour of her trapezius here. Those of you working in oils, you have a lot to learn from just watching another medium, because it may spark something in you. You know, maybe you see an approach that I'm doing in oils, and you can go ahead and turn and add that into the way that you approach your airbrush paintings. So definitely look at different mediums. It will make your work richer. It's like looking at things from a whole different perspective. And a lot of times that's what you need to get you to that next level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this, and then I'm going to work it a little bit here. And you can see how I'm evolving with the working with all of these colors, and you know, making adjustments as I go. Working makes a big difference. And then it gets nice and light here and gets a little more intense down here. Alright, back to our blender brush. Astral says, good night, Patty. Patty, thanks so much for hanging out. I really appreciate you. Thank you for your time and spending part of your Wednesday night with me. I appreciate you so much. Ooh. So you see how that got a little out of hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, rather than blend that in, just eradicate that. I'm still doing the 1 second rule, right? But you're going to see how I develop this, which is really important. And then we'll come down. Now we're getting these beautiful blends. And it's always a work in progress. You see how, you know, working wet into wet is one of the big advantages that you have almost every other medium. Now, of course, Golden Acrylics makes the open line. That with the wet palette could really be a game changer if you need to work in acrylics for whatever reason. Michael says, I like how you lean back, Tim. Looking at your painting, I find myself doing that more and more. Yes, definitely. You definitely need to step back and see the forest for the trees, right? That's so important. So now you see the elements are starting to come together. So now we're going to work on the background and sort of incorporate them together. So now I'm going to find out what the color is on the bottom by her neck. So let's make that happen. We're going to worry about this edge right here. And Astral says, see, Michael, you're one of us now, that's for sure. Okay, so we're going to find out what is this color in the background. And like always, you know, you're going to be surprised when you have a system like mine where you really are forced to see colors as they are, not as we want it to be, or as our eyes will tell us. Okay, so Winsor & Newton has a color in their professional oil painters line, and it's called Pyrrole Red. No, it's called Bright Red. But I did look at the pigment, and it is Pyrrole Red, which Mr. Leahy uses, and also what Ferrari used for their cars, the Testarossa and everything. And I found that to be interesting. So bright red, but I'm still using up my naphthol red light, even though it's not always 100% light fast, but I do like it, but I'm not buying another tube. I'm probably going to end up with cadmium red, you know? And Michael says Astral, he thought it was because he don't drink alcohol. That's funny. Okay, so let's get the mixture here. So I'm going to go with number 2. And you'll see, like when you're working, you know, a color might have a little bit of a shift, and you know, you'll go ahead and try and get that shift. And then it might look a little darker. You can add a little bit to it. Just kind of look at your target color and have patience. You'll get there with that color. I'm gonna have to go get more paper towels. Okay, so now we need a dark brush, a brush for the darks. And we need something a little substantial. This guy looks pretty good here. What do we got here? Oh, look at this one. I love this brush here. Okay, let's go with this. So this is definitely more of a reddish color in here. Okay, so back to work. All right, let's go over here. And then we'll use that wet and wet technique to assimilate it to get atmospheric effects, right? Oh, Michael, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate that so much. Thank you, sir. And again, you're using these little foam things as an eraser. Because, where did I see? Okay, right here. See how you can erase with that, which is really wild. And just bring this up. And remember, no color. Michael, thank you so much for the support and your friendship. It means the world to me, sir. We're going to get you oil painting, sir. I think it would be a great compliment with what you're doing with your airbrush art. One will definitely help the other. And of course, you see how we're going to have to once we get the curtain, then we're going to go and integrate the skin tone and also her hair and everything like that. Oh, that sounds great. I'll definitely help you along the way, get you the products you need and at a good price. It won't break your piggy bank, I promise. So let's say let's say you're working and you can't get to your compressor for whatever reason. You'll have oil paint to fall back on, which is great. And if you're going to fall back on something, oil paint is definitely something to fall back on. Alright, so now I'm going to get my blender brush. Where did that go? Where did that little guy? Okay, here we go. Alright, always look at your reference, that's the key. And realize that you're not going to get it perfect the first time. But you see how wet into wet I can really blend this back and forth and get those soft atmospheric effects. Oh, Farrah Fawcett painting out of the frame and change your hair in oil. No, let's do a whole new one, right? I don't think you should change a thing. You signed that. That's a time capsule. Never work on something that you signed. That's like a document. So never do that. But start a new one, that's exciting. A new Farrah? Oh man, I'd love to see that. Yeah, this is my palette knife all bent up and crazy. I have another one, but I'm killing that one till it's over. Kyle says, is that because oil paint is softer than other things? It can be, right? That's for sure, Kyle. And we're just going to blend, blend, blend until we get the edges that are atmospheric in what we're looking for. And I'm not happy with the color and the tonality, but it's a good lay-in, right? It's getting closer to where I want it to be. Astral says mud, it's oily mud. I'll tell you though, working with oils, if you're an oil painter, once you do it, it'll become part of your soul. And you'll know once you attempt it, with a good teacher, not doing it on your own. But you'll know if it's part of your soul. Hey, what's up, Mr. Patrick? Great to see you. Patrick says she's looking amazing. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that so much. How you been, sir? I miss ya. Is this the summer of Patrick? Are you having a good summer, sir? Hey, another person online. How are you today? Great to see you. How's everything? Ah, fantastic vacation. That's amazing. And hi, Michael. I hope you're well, brother. Oh, cool. So up here, it's darker than here. This is much more red because it's closer to the candles. The photons coming from the candle is going to affect that, right? Oh, wait for AI to get rid of you. It's funny. There are a lot of talk about stuff like that, right? So we're going to come up with this dark here. So let me go ahead and find that dark, and we're going to mix that. So I've been oil painting today since 10 p.m. I was working on a porter commission, working with a student in oils, and then working on a porter commission again, and now working today. So probably like a 10-hour shift in oils. So I was discussing with someone today that the only colors you need are the colors in the visible spectrum. Anything else is superfluous. I thought that was interesting. A little bit of orange in here. So you want to get the value, but you know, there's no black holes in nature. There's color in every dark. Remember that. When I say color, there's energy. Okay, so now throw away the paper towel. Okay. All right, so where was our dark here? Oh, here we go. So at 10:30 we're going to be looking at Mr. Michael's artwork. See how this kind of fits in? I like painting with colors in the invisible spectrum. You mean infrared and ultraviolet, sir? Now that's minimalist, right? That's hilarious, sir. But bugs see ultraviolet, which is really interesting. So I have this darker value here, and there's a little bit of this darker value right up against the nape of her neck. So look for the subtle energy shifts. And when you see those energy shifts, things really start to come alive and vibrate, right? There's a vibration happening. That's why bugs like his art. That's funny. And you see how, you know, it kind of all falls in. You have to work wet into wet and wet into wet again. And that's when you're kind of working, not only putting down color, which are vibrations, but you're also putting down energy and also, you know, the vibrations of energy within a value shape, right? Just like, oh, just a quantum take on art. It's so true. It really is. It's, you know, quantum mechanics. You know, I know darn well if Rembrandt and Vermeer knew about quantum mechanics back then, they would have integrated that into their art. See how now we're softening that edge work there. And now we can actually come in with this dark. When bugs get in his painting, he has a 3D look. Gary, Mr. Gary, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate that so much, more than you know, sir. Thank you so much for your for your support and friendship, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, sir. And that is so great. Mr. Gary, that is fantastic. And so just a big thank you from you, sir, from me. Thank you so much for continuing to support the channel. Interesting. You know, it's like when you work, you kind of start to see some changes. I had the hair come down a little bit too much. So maybe I can come in with that lighter orangey color right here. Kind of cut in the hair a little bit. There we go. I think that works. And of course now we have to come in with that hair color and, you know, have it wet onto wet and work in our edges, right? Which are very, very important. And, you know, keep your brushes, you know, that are still wet with some of the color, that you can just continue to work on these edge shapes here. And of course, you know, after this dries, I'm going to be coming in with a lot of transparent glazes, and I'll be showing you all that, how to work in glazes. And it's like what you do all the time in airbrush anyway. I assume artists are their own worst critics. They can be. It's not healthy. You know, I think it's important for us to, you know, just do our best and own it and say, hey, I did my darndest on this. But you know what? I stick by it. And that's hard. It's hard to do. So here we have sort of this golden color here. We just kind of pull this golden color right down. And there's a tendency to try and, you know, make things perfect, right? That's what we do. There's a little bit of an orange kind of veil happening there. Orangey red. And these are all effects happening from those candles on the other end of the room. Now here we can desaturate that just a tad, right? So what I'm going to do is add in some of my Davies gray here and really kind of dim this out. Maybe add a little bit of the cadmium orange in here. Let's see if this will kind of dim this. See, that's a little too strong, so I'm going to wipe it clean, and we're going to get more energy in here. Okay, let's see what this does. I just wanted to lower the energy right here. Just slightly, maybe a little too much. But I don't want it to be too orange, that's the thing. I just want to kill the energy. You know, keep the same saturation, but saturation and energy are different. I don't talk about value anymore. Value is, it's a binary light and dark. That's not the way light works. It's not light and dark, it's energy. Do you ever go back and repaint older past paintings with your improved skills? Never. And I'll tell you why, because that's an important thing that I mentioned earlier, is that paintings are documents as to where you are, and that's the whole magic of signing the painting. You know, it's almost like at the end of a prayer when you say amen, and I think that's the same thing. When you are painting and you say, okay, amen, so this is it. This is as far as I'm going to go at this level I'm at now. And so it's a document of where I was at the time, and to have acceptance of it. You know, this is where I was at the time, and you know, I'm happy. I was happy with it, and I'll try and get better later, but try not to ever rework a painting. But yes, I have done versions of a painting, especially successful ones, and yes, that is great to see the, you know, where, you know, one has progressed as an artist, you know. And you can see how I'm kind of dulling the energy here because it's further away from the light source. And I may come back and glaze that, and then right here it gets pretty dull right here. So I'm not changing the saturation. What I'm doing is just lowering the energy. Because light is electromagnetic waves, right? So that translates into energy. Michael says, yeah, you look back at some of the artists' first paintings and their latest painting, you can tell how they progress. And we hope we do, right? You know, but I have a theory that the more you work, just the better you'll get, and the closer you are to becoming that artist you were born to be. Okay, we'll go back to our fan brush, your friend and mine. But you see how I lowered the energy without changing the saturation. Now we're going to work on this edge up here. And that's with that dark, right guys? And so that dark reddish black here. Bring this over. And notice how that notice how the curtain is really becoming part of the atmosphere, right? Being affected by everything around it. You get those beautiful gradations. Okay, so let me get a swig of apple juice here. Whoa, my cap just went really far away. Alright, let me take a swig of this apple juice here. Okay. Alright, now bring me back. Okay, so really happy with the way that's coming out. Maybe soften this up, but I can actually let it dry and then work on it some more. But a very good, I feel very good about the evolution of this. Let's go ahead and look at Mr. Michael's painting. Let's see. I'm going to go get it. And we'll download this. Okay, so we'll bring this in here. So this is Mr. Michael's painting, which is really great. We'll make it bigger. And really love the colors. Really fantastic. Really wonderful job. So that is great. What do you all think? So I'm going to have you, I'm loving it. I'm going to put this on. I'm going to use the young man's room, and I will be right back. Talks amongst yourselves, everybody. Give me 5 minutes. So I am back. I just wanted to say that's a really great painting that you did in airbrush and paintbrush. Really good job, sir. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I appreciate you. And so, what do you guys all think of Mr. Michael's painting? Oh, Gary says looks awesome. Looks like Wilmer and Betty just left Macy's. Kyle says when shopping for the Dino designer brand. That's funny. And Bam Bam Bam. Astral says. Another person online says Wilma looks like she's husband shopping. And love the floor reflect. Michael says he's loving the floor reflection. It's kind of hard to keep the legs going in the right direction. Yes. And he was going to put some names of the stores like they were from Bedrock. That's cool. Kyle says Fred and Barney gonna be working extra to pay for that. Hey, Mr. Air Todd, how's it going? Great to see you. And can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. So you guys can hear me. And Cheese Grits and NyQuil says, looking like that is how Pebbles and Bam Bam showed up. Oh, okay, Astral, cool. And Air Todd says he hears me. Kyle hears me. That's good. Okay, great. Oh, so fantastic. Now let's go ahead and work on this here. See how it's a bit hard-edged up here? So we're going to soften this a little bit up here. Oh, thanks, Michael. Michael says the sound is great. Thank goodness. I appreciate that so much. And now let me get back my reference here, and we'll continue. We don't want to work on this too long, but one thing I am seeing is that there's a lot of energy right at the edge, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this brush here, and I'm just going to pump up the energy a little bit. And it is kind of a reddish color. So let me see if we can make this kind of reddish color. Right here, I'm going to add a lot of medium to this. And we're going to try and infuse some energy right here on the edge. See that? Just infuse some energy right there on the edge. A little bit of photons hanging on just before it goes into shadow. Oh, Mr. Cheese Grit says, good night, everyone. Glad to see you all. Patrick, always a pleasure. Hope to talk soon, my friend. Thanks for coming by. It's so great to see you. See how we infuse some energy here. Same thing here. Just going to infuse some energy. Energy doesn't just go away, right? It dissipates slowly like a cup of tea where it's really hot and just moves towards room temperature. It's very similar with the way light dissipates. Now I can come in with that darker color and really kind of work these edges. And come in with this color here. Whoop, that's way too powerful. Too much energy. And this is wet into wet here. So it's very easy to kind of get that nice edge that you're looking for. Now right here we do have an infusion of energy here. which is right here on the, so what I need is another brush that's a good size, maybe something like this, and we're going to use, you know, maybe some number 8. Actually, this is Utrecht white, which is a combination of titanium white and zinc white, so it has a little bit of transparency to it. See, that's a little powerful, right? Tim's getting a little out of hand here. Let's see. But if we worked wet into wet, we can kind of play with that and kind of move the paint around until we get the value and color that we want. Gary says he's got to go. Take care. Good night, Gary. Always a pleasure. I hope you have a great week. And make sure you're not working too hard. And it's always great to see your posts and how you're doing. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me, sir, with us. I appreciate it so much. And thank you so much for the super chat, sir. So now I'm infusing some of this light coming from the window here, right? Now you have some of this cool light. It's like two different worlds, right? You have the candlelight, and then you have this kind of cool sunlight kind of making its way in before it starts getting affected by the photons that are in the room. See how that's really powerful? No problem. All I have to do is kind of work the wet into wet like this. And let's see how that kind of moves down. Yeah, this light color is moving all the way down right towards where the table is. Is there some energy level right here? Yes. There's a little bit of energy hitting here. But it's a lot weaker because the light falls off when it's further away from the window. So the light is going to really weaken dramatically right here, just at the second fold. And I would actually handle this exactly the same way if I was working in Airbrush, you know. But be careful for any like really hard edges within this, because like the energy level definitely breaks down slowly. Slowly in the sense of turning from light to dark, but as the actual light itself, it actually gets darker due to the inverse square law pretty quick as it goes further and further from the light. What I mean is when you have form, you know, the form turning away from the light, it doesn't dissipate so drastically. Okay. Well, where is that brush that I used for the gray? Let's see what we have here. Because down here, I can see it's yet darker. go. Michael says, so Tim, how much time do you have in this painting and the oil and all? Oh, I would say a good 20 hours. Yeah, I think a good 20 hours is a good number. But the time, you know, like, it's funny how every painting has its own personality, its own needs. Some paintings just go so quick and you're like, what in the world? That's not supposed to happen, but it does. And then there's some paintings where you just kind of roll with the punches and it takes a long time for it to gel, you know. I'm going to use a bigger fan brush here. Then here I think we have to go a little just kind of straight Davies gray here. It's interesting about Davies gray, it has very weak tinting strength. So you can just almost transparent here. So again, remember, if you have something you don't want, you can erase it with these foams. Rather than try and, you know, fix it by, you know, just blending it in because you're going to contaminate colors. You don't want to do that. Kyle says, what's the longest time you ever spent on a painting? I think would be a pastel painting. I think it was like 5 months working every day. As far as an airbrush, I would say maybe 20 hours, right? Maybe 30 hours. But you know, it's like, it's funny, every painting is going to do its own thing. Now this looks like there's like a little piece of something that got on there. Okay, so that's it for that right now, and I'm pretty happy with it. But like right here, we can definitely work on this edge. There we go. And you can see I have some nice energy in there. Now I could come in here and we can, oh, here's this brush here. Come in with this dark, beautiful dark red that we had. And you can see how long that took just for, you know, it took a long time just to get the edges of our curtain there. Alright, so now what we're going to do is, oh, Michael says, I think my longest one was 30 hours, and that was the time on the Volkswagen. Wow. Did it feel like 5 months? Seems it would. It really isn't. This was a picture I did that was Dree figures. It was really interesting. I really enjoyed it, and let me see if I can show you the painting, if I can bring it up, if I can find it. It's on my website. So let's see if I go to I don't know if it's on Painted Glyphs. Let's see, under paintings. Let's see if it's there. No, I think I'll have to go on There's a site my work is on called artwanted.com, and you can look me up there. You can search by artist, and let's see, I'll just do search and keywords. I'll just pull it up, and this was pastel. Okay, so I did a search under my name. Let's see. There I am. View portfolio. Let's see, where else would it be? I'll just do a screenshot here of this painting. Let's see, so you all can see. It's not going to be the prettiest, but I'm just doing a quick screenshot of it. New. Okay. So this is when I was working pretty much exclusively in pastel. Save as, and we'll just put that here. In downloads, we'll just put okay, great. So this is the painting that took me about 5-6 months, and I'll show you. Let's see. So this is the painting that took that long. It was 3 figures, and it was very involved, and I really enjoyed it. I actually, you know, posed the models. These are models that I paid, and then I went over and took photographs at the Patterson train station, and it was, you know, it was a lot of fun. It really was. See if I can go in and show you some details here. Just seeing the detail and everything. Oh, thank you, Kyle. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, so I was working a lot in, I didn't even touch an airbrush yet. This is before working in airbrush. This is after working in oils. A lot of details. Oh, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate that, my friends. And you can see, I mean, it's a blurry picture, but it's much more detailed. But there was the train station, so there was a lot going on in the reflections, and a lot going in the glass, a lot going on, you know, in all the different aspects of the painting, you know. Just a lot of, it was a lot of fun to paint, you know. And but yeah, something like that, when you basically, you're posing the models, you're going on location, kind of bringing it together in Krita, and then painting it. This painting won, I think it won a pretty big award at the Pastel Society of America show, which was really, really a lot of fun. So as you can see, I work in airbrush, I work in oils, I work in pastel. So this was definitely a 5-month painting. But it didn't feel like it. It goes by rather quickly, sir. So where were we, my friends? So we were going to work on I believe, her hair. But let's work on this here. I don't like what's going on with her trapezius. That painting actually was 18 by 24. Not too big, not too small. Really enjoyed working on that one. Let's see. So I'm going to get my glasses back on, guys. Yeah, so I had my period where I was just basically a pastel painter for about 5 years. And then from there, I got into working mainly in airbrush for a good 10 years, and then got back into oil paints about 2 years ago. So, you know, I'm pretty well versed in a lot of different mediums. It's just, you know, I love it. You know, each medium does its own thing, guys, you know. The painting I sent you 3 months. Oh, 20 by 36. Oh, wow, 3 months. Very cool. Let's see. Oh, very cool. Whoa, let's see here. Very cool. Okay, so now I fixed this trapezius, you know, get back to that real beautiful line, this graceful contour, right? I don't want to lose that. Not for the world. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on her hair and kind of build this edge here. But before I do that, let me fix the chair. The chair got kind of messed up from all the painting. Let's see. So we're going to go back to our dark brush here. And bring this chair back, but surprise, surprise, we have to work on the edge of this chair. Maybe a little more black, because that is quite dark. So I think if time permits, I should be starting a airbrush painting next week, which is cool. Astral says the Keystone one. Oh, so 5 months, yes. That's amazing. Yeah, so, you know, this painting is taking a long time, but I would never speed it up. You know, you can't speed up a painting. If you do, you'll end up with regrets. Especially if it's a commission. You know, you have to ask your... It's a good reason if the painting is taking its time, right? As opposed to, you know, going slow, right? But it's a good reason if you're working and, you know, you need more time because you need to do another layer on the face or something like that. That's different, right? That's a different ball game. So now we are going to work this in, and you see how this is like really soft edged right here. So I'm going to have to, so it's like a wave field, right? And you know, all light is a wave, and the further you're away from it, the more that you start seeing the waves. And when you're closer up, you see the photons acting like a particle, but further away you start seeing it acting like a wave. So it's the duality. Okay, so now we have this. We're going to put this aside, and we're going to come in with a brush to kind of get that orangey color right here. So this is not necessarily energy, this is just, you know, more saturation. And what's happening here is that we're getting some energy off of the candles. Some of those photons are kind of having its way with this chair. And we'll zoom out a little bit. So when I am oil painting, I'm actually getting better in airbrush just from association of working in color and doing blends in a more manual way. So when I come in with the airbrush, I am going to be 100% enjoying the ease of getting blends, but doing it manually gets me sharp. Because we airbrush artists are very spoiled getting the beautiful edge work. You know, the hard edge using frisket or freehand shields, the soft edge using distance. So yeah, we are definitely on the spoiled end there of the spectrum. But by doing this, when I come in with that, then things start to really ramp up, because now I can get those effects really nicely. So here, this is like almost a red and a dark gray over here. So I'm going to mix that. I think I have the color. Let's see. Yep, not quite there. Let's see what we have here. Kind of let these colors mix. Let me zoom in to show you what I'm doing. And we're going to have to work all this in. That's why it's good to work wet into wet. And you airbrush artists out there, you can definitely see how I'm doing this and make it part of your repertoire. That if you're going to get the edge work, you're going to have to work in the light and the mid-tone and the dark, and you need to have all them going at the same time. So you can't just make a darker version of one color. You have to work it. Even when this is going, this color is actually going into where her back is. I have to take in consideration. If it's a soft edge, then I have to work that out as well. Okay, so now we're going to have to work in those layers here. So here's this light color. I'm just going to have to work this here. And always make sure you have paper towels to wipe. You don't want mud. And then we'll come in with the lightest color here, hopefully. Let's see. Add some solvent-free gel, kind of extend that color. Now we'll come in with that really dark black color and assimilate this as well. So no color gets away with just putting it there. It assimilates. If you want to paint a chair, there is no chair. And then come back here with this. And I may glaze this and kill the saturation later, but it's important to establish the edge work here. And remember, we had that little bit of energy here. Let's just pump up the energy a little bit here because we can. Just a little bit here. I just want a little bit of energy. It's not in the picture. I want some of those photons from those candles hitting this chair in this spot. Just a little bit like that. Alright, so now we can go back to our blender brush. That's why when I look back at some of his paintings, Michael says, he likes how it captures the light reflections, different kind of objects. It's nice to see all of them. Yes, definitely. You know, every object is going to have its own light signature. Every object. Now that's kind of a high saturation here in this transition tone. I can always calm that down later. But you can see how that chair is more part of the atmosphere now. So what looked before kind of an eyesore now is kind of assimilating to the rest of the painting. I may, when this dry, take some transparent you know, red orange and kind of put a glaze here to integrate, but I like that this is a pale color here. Kind of echoes in a weaker way what's going on with, you know, with the candle and the curtain, so I kind of like that. So that's pretty good. So you can see we're definitely moving along with this painting rather well. And so now, looking at this, I think we have a lot of good things happening. Astral says, like photons dancing around in midair, Tim. Really nice. Thank you, sir. Yes, it is. You definitely can feel those photons kind of bouncing around and, you know, making it past her. You know, these really warm photons, kind of just before they're dying. They kind of hit that little bit of the cushion there, right? So it's so true, Astral. That's exactly what we're painting. We're painting energy fields, you know? And once we, you know, really get involved in that. So if I'm accessing my painting right now, what I'm really seeing, I think, is a lot of the hard edges here on the inside. Here, we have a nice soft edge, which we're going to play with, and then it gets a little harder and then soft again. And also we have to do, you know, this part of her ear here, which is very important, and the concha, and, you know, really get that ear going. And then right here, remember what I said, that light is like a cup of tea. It doesn't go from hot to room temperature right away. Same thing here. This is way too harsh. See how fast that goes? It's not going to go that fast, so I have to definitely dissipate the light into this dark a lot slower, thus making it round, making her as elegant as she is. And oh, look at that. Michael says now we could almost see that chair down there at the bottom. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that so much. And yeah, so if you think of light as energy fields, you can definitely, rather than look for light and dark, ask yourself, is there more energy or less energy there? And by doing that, I think we'll see all the little undulations, the little lights and darks within that, you know, within a shape. And not just see that shape as, you know, oh, that's a red, and that's a dark brown, and that's a yellow. But to see, like, within that shape, there are energy fields, you know, and that's really important. Okay, so now let's work on our hair and the bottom of her hair, and part of me wants to just go ahead with the same colors here, but no, her hair is different, right? Her hair has different colors to it, so I am going to find out what the color is in her hair here. I wish I was able to go ahead and work on her face today, but if I start it now, we really won't get very far. But we'll work on the hair and the edge into the background, and also a little bit into this the edges of her hair against the curtain. So there's so many things to consider, right? And it's interesting how her hair has lots of red in it. And okay, so this is very interesting. So let's go ahead and mix up her beautiful hair. Okay. Do we need solvent gel? Why not? You know, I mean, we don't want it too thin, but we don't want it stiff either, right? So let's go ahead and make this happen here. So here's the thing. We can't just paint her hair like it's, you know, an isolated event. We can't, because what's happening is that everything on all sides of that hair is reacting to other color, right? So we have to make sure that when we do that, we can't just put this down. We can if we're blocking in, but if we're painting for keeps, we have to make sure that we get those edges. That's a lot of things that, you know, people don't teach, you know, or even share when they're working, is edges are everything. Because it's a wave field, and if it's a wave field, everything integrates either greatly or less, with hard edges and soft edges. It's part of that atmosphere. A chair in front of the window opens blinds. Oh, yes, definitely. So now you see we are hitting the dark of her hair, but we don't get away with just doing that. See, this comes out like this, and then now I can see where my drawing lacked a little bit, so I'll fix that right there. And then this comes up, then we can hit this. So you're always drawing, even though you may project or use other things, you're always going to want to refine things. So her hair right now is just a block in, so you can see just how crude it is. But hopefully she will start to really have a lot of subtlety and elegance. That's my hope for this painting. But there are times when I'm airbrushing all the time, and there are times when I am oil painting all the time. So right now I am doing pastel and doing airbrush. Not as much, but still doing airbrush with some students. I'm doing pastel with a student. Let me show you a pastel painting I'm working on with a student. This is of Sophia Loren that we're working on. Let me darken this a little bit. So this is the early stages of a pastel painting. But you can see it's, I work in several mediums. And we have airbrush paintings going with a student. Let me see if I can show you an airbrush painting I'm working on with a student. So this is in my airbrush and India ink technique right now. So this is something we're working on in airbrush with the India ink techniques. So, when you get to my stage of doing this for many years, you're basically just translating a thought in different languages, but you're still saying the same thing, So now I have to find this light color that's right here. So the light color of the hair, we're going to find that. This kind of goes up a little bit. There we go. And make this a little bit lighter. There we go. A little lighter. Okay. So now we're going to find the color here. It's an interesting color. It's not, so when you have like a dark hair and then you go look for the lighter color, it's just not adding white to it. There's a lot of things that happen to color as it gets more energy. And depending on the molecular structure, that could mean a lot. So this is, it's similar, but it has a little more orange into it. So let's make this happen. And it's almost like a coffee color. But I'm infusing some energy into it. Okay. I think I'm happy with this right now. I'm going to sleep tonight because I did about 12 hours of oil painting today. let's see here. Yeah, that actually seems to work, but maybe a little bit darker. Tim, do you prefer oil painting the most because of the tool that you know the most? You know, this was the tool that I was trained in for 8 years as a young man. So this is the tool that, you know, my favorite teachers taught me. Harvey Dinnerstein, Ron Scher, Erwin Greenberg. So yeah, this is like part of my heritage, right? This is, so learning this allowed me to learn everything else. So it's not that I know this the most. I just think that this, to me, that doesn't lessen when I work in the other mediums, but this one just has more significance to me. And I can integrate airbrush into it. I can integrate, you know, paintbrush techniques in acrylic as an underpainting. I can integrate my India inks as an underpainting. So there's so much I can do with this. So plus, if my compressor goes down, or if I live in a place where I can't make noise, this is going to be my go-to, right? So, but do I love airbrushing? Yes. And you know, and I do love what it does. And airbrush makes me a better oil painter. See how now I'm able to kind of work on her hair and just how soft edge this is. We'll come back in with that dark. Kind of work all this together. Now, what's cool is that the edge of her hair here is pretty hard edged. At this point, it's all kind of comes together, you know, like oil painting and pastel, and you know, I pretty much can do them the same, you know. It's not like I'm more comfortable with one. It's just they have different significance, you know. Oh, Mr. Todd, have a great night. Always a pleasure, my friend. From my friend from San Diego. Take care, sir. So we are at 11:29, almost done. But thank you everybody for hanging out. Thank you Michael and Mr. Gary for the super chats. I really appreciate yous so much. And you know, it might seem like we didn't do much tonight, but we did, because everything kind of big piggy banks on the other. Whoever your student was that chose, Abby got good taste. Oh, cool. Yes. And Abby is the girl from NCIS, right, sir? Oh yeah, she's so popular. I did not know. I didn't even watch the show, but since then, so many people just love her. Well, thanks, guys. It's 11:30. I appreciate yous. Thank you so much for hanging out. You're all great. And tomorrow, I hope you all have a great day. And looking forward to your live streams coming up, Michael. Take care, everybody. Always a pleasure.